Can you believe that it's been a year since we've moved here?
Did you wash your face
I
this
did
morning?
wash my face this morning. What are you talking about?
It's from a towel then.
Oh, okay. Maybe it might be from the towel. Listen, ain't nobody move abroad for you to being my mother. I'm a whole grown man.
So you want me to just let you be on here with stuff on your face? That's being your mother. Is that what that is?
I mean, it's the way you. Did you wash your face like that?
It's been one long year.
One long year, y'all. Coming up next, the Panniversary edition of Behind Closed Doors. Y'all stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Behind Closed Doors. This is not really another edition, babe. This edition marks our 1 year anniversary since being here in Panama. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, want to introduce myself. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and this lovely light-skinned young lady sitting next to me is
Cherie A. Brooks Jr.,
Listen.
author, speaker, and relationship coach. And it is early here in Panama.
So we're sitting here on the top of our roof here in El Cangrejo, Panama, where we live, reflecting on the last year. So it's been 1 year living abroad, Cherie, and I want to talk to people a little bit about some of the relationship dynamics. Because if you ever decide to embark on an adventure like this, I'm going to help you understand things will change. And they could be good or bad, but it's not going to be the same. So let's talk a little bit about that.
All right, so I think one thing for us, first, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe. We appreciate you for your subscription. Those of you that subscribe, please click the link so that you get notifications when we have new content come out. We put new content out every week.
Every week.
So, to get into this context, if you guys have been following us, you've seen us post about all of the fun things that we do here in Panama, the things that we've been able to explore, the different experiences that we had, the people that we've met. And we talk about relationship stuff, and occasionally we talk about our stuff.
Yep.
But today we're really going to talk about our stuff. And so one thing that I realized that kind of prepared us actually for coming here was the pandemic.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that we were forced to be together in the home together during that time without the distractions of leaving and going to work. And that really proved as a testing ground for us. It kind of proved to us that we could do this because we actually like each other.
Yeah, no, we actually are friends in real life.
We actually got along during that time.
Yeah.
We didn't, there were moments we got on each other's nerves because we're human, but it was not, I need my space, get away from me type thing.
Yeah.
And we were able to really grow closer to one another during the pandemic, during that time. And so when moving abroad for us, the biggest thing that we both had to consider was that we were leaving our tribe. We were leaving our community.
Yeah.
We came here by ourselves. We didn't bring a group of people. Unlike when we moved to Atlanta, we went there for a church plant. There was a group of people that went with us. But when we came here to Panama, it was just us.
Yeah.
We didn't really know anybody here. We had met some people online, but we didn't know anybody. And so we left our family, we left our friend circles, and we knew it was going to be just us. And so the biggest thing, I think, for us was doing that work on the front end to kind of make sure we were good before we got here, because that could have been disastrous if we got here and realized, you know what, I don't really like you like that.
You know what's funny, because when you say that, we as relationship coaches, we coach a lot of couples who go through all the ups and downs that comes with being married, particularly when you've been married for as long as we have. So after 25 years with the same person, regular life can get mundane, it can get boring, it can get trite. Sheree and I started years ago working on the idea of discovering something new about each other regularly, or what we like to call staying curious. And I think that even in the pandemic, one of the things that I was beginning to pay attention to was the dynamics of being inside because you had to be, and all of a sudden now I'm focusing in on things that I just normally wouldn't see. So, for example, being able to be up close with your mental health journey,
Right.
and recognizing the highs and the lows of that whole experience made me understand that we have got to do something. I remember, it was in the pandemic that her therapist suggested that we get a comfort dog. Jackson, Action Jackson. Well, when it got to the point that the comfort dog needed
a comfort dog,
that's when we realized, wait a minute, this dog is causing her more anxiety because of his level of his anxiety. So, but what that did, and it's funny because what that did for us was it helped us to embrace the evolution of growing through a process. And I think that's what I've learned since we've been here. Our process has changed.
Right. Right.
How we communicate has changed. How we connect has changed. Because when you're in a foreign country, guys, and you don't have family, there's no running over to see my girlfriends. There's no let me check in on my mom. There's no let's go over and see what the kids are doing. We live 6 minutes from our grandchildren. There's no let's get the grandbabies this weekend. None of that. And so everything is about you. And I think one of the biggest things that we learned is that we absolutely needed a community.
Right.
We needed a tribe if we were going to do this right.
Right, and we've worked on developing that here. But one thing I want to go back real quick. The lesson that we learned, I think, in regard to fortifying our relationship, and what I mean by fortifying our relationship, really getting in connecting with one another, which, like I said, during the pandemic, we took advantage of that and drew closer to each other. Whether you wind up moving abroad with your spouse or not, we went through the same growing pains that couples go through when they retire.
Yeah.
Because you're both used to working 9 to 5s. You both are out of the house. When you retire, you're both in the house. And this is a story we've heard time and time again. A couple retires, and then one's like, oh my God, he get on my nerves. Or, oh my gosh, she get on my nerves. I wish she would go somewhere, go find something to do. Because you haven't developed the habit of spending time together before you have to spend time together.
So if I could give any piece of wisdom and a word of advice for anybody that's thinking about moving abroad for any level, particularly, I don't care what country you go to, you're definitely going to have to work on strengthening your bond and fortifying your relationship before you move.
Yes.
Because I think that for Sheree and I, that was one of the biggest challenges that we saw other people going through once we got here. And that was, you can move abroad and literally your relationship fall apart.
Yeah.
I mean, legit. Because when I think about the trappings of living in a place where some would consider paradise, right? Those are real palm trees blowing in the wind behind us.
Right there.
Like, they're real. Like, these are real views, panoramic views of the city. That can be distracting.
Right.
And if I don't like my wife, or if I'm not friends with her, or if I'm not working on fortifying us, or we're not a thing before we move here, that thing is going to distract me from us. And I think that that's dangerous. And
also, I think there has to be agreement. I know, like, early on in our relationship, there were seasons where we didn't agree on things.
Absolutely.
And
not. Yeah.
I'll speak for me. I made decisions without agreement. And that tested our relationship. So there was a season I left my job. I was fed up on my job, and I just came home and was like, look, I quit my job without having that conversation.
Without having a conversation with a brother.
And the thing that I've learned in marriage, you can't move solo.
You just shared that, and I wasn't triggered.
Oh, you've healed. You forgave me.
Listen.
Finally.
Listen. There was times just to even think about that episode in our life. That was tough.
Right. It was. Right. You okay?
No, I'm really okay. I'm just reflecting on the fact that
you're okay.
I'm okay.
All right, but I think that as couples, you have to learn and you have to understand that you can't operate solo. Yes, we're both individuals, and that doesn't mean you can't have your own hobbies, you can't have your own interests. But when it comes to making decisions, that affect your household.
Yeah.
You cannot operate that way, and especially as you enter into whether it's retirement, whether you guys are going to move, whether you're going to move from one state to another or move abroad, there has to be a consensus between the two of you to be in agreement. And what happens, unfortunately, oftentimes is one party will go along to please the other person.
Ooh.
But then when you get there, I ain't really want to do this.
Let's talk about that.
I don't really like this.
Let's drill down on that, because I think that one of the things, and again, I'm going back and forth thinking about our journey, but also thinking about the journey of other people who we've met since being here. As coaches, Cherie and I understand the value of communication. As a couple, we understand how absolutely necessary it is for us to be skilled in that. And so when you start talking about agreement, I'm going to kind of introduce the word buy-in. Just because a person nods and says yes doesn't mean that they have buy-in. It may mean that they're agreeing in the moment because of the pressure of disagreeing. And if you're not careful, particularly if you are a stronger temperament than your spouse or stronger personality, you can kind of push your way through and almost, for lack of better terms, bully the situation, push them into making a decision on something that they really aren't super comfortable with. The challenge is that when you come to a place like that, that's going to get tested.
Right.
That's going to get tested on another level. So one of the other things that I think that we want to pass along to people, if you're thinking about doing something like this, make sure you get buy-in. Make sure that there is a long ramping up period. For us, it looked like the research that we did.
For almost 3 years.
For almost 3 years before moving. So that when we decided to come taste and see, on our 24th wedding anniversary, we brought another couple, happens to be my ex-wife and her husband, who we're great friends with. They came along and they experienced with us what this could look like, not only for us to be here, but to actually live here. So I think that it was that ramp up, getting buy-in, thinking about, talking about what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like. That helped significantly. So for us, when we got here, it was a no-brainer that once we figured out, no, this is the place, 5 months later, we were here permanently.
Right. Now, even with buy-in, even with agreement, there are things that are going to come up.
Let's
because
talk
there
about
are
that.
things, there are unknowns that you don't know until you
Absolutely.
get to that place. So
Absolutely.
whether it's you guys get to the place that now you're retired, you both agree, okay, we're going to retire, we're going to move to Florida, we're going to do whatever, we're going to move to another country, or we're going to move to another state. You're in agreement. Everything's good. You guys are good. You move. Then
the ish hit the fan.
So the thing that you have to consider, the thing that we discovered, because we had transplanted ourselves in an entirely different environment, entirely different culture, the fact that we no longer had our support system, the fact that we no longer had our family here, there was a level of loneliness that we both went through that was different, that showed up differently. For me, it was a longing for my children, for my grandchildren. For Glenn, it was his not having the ability to get out and just go because you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do.
You don't speak the language.
And you don't speak the language, and which caused him to become a little irritable.
A lot irritable.
A little chippy.
She being nice, a lot chippy.
He was a bear.
A bear.
For a couple of months.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the fact that when we first got here, your Achilles tendon flared up, so you couldn't even really get out and walk. I got here, I'm like, I want to go. Part of my reason for being here is like, we're going to be in nature.
Listen.
The weather's going to be perfect. I want to get out and walk every day.
She want to do all the waterfalls, the hikes.
The neighborhood that we moved in is a walkable neighborhood. So I'm like, I want to walk to the grocery store. I want to walk everywhere. He's like,
I'm like, bro,
I don't feel like doing that.
Can we grab an Uber? Can we?
Right, and in the beginning,
we not do that?
Right. And in the beginning, because we're in a new place, I don't really feel comfortable going by myself because I don't know where I am.
Ooh, Cherie, and the pressure that I felt when you would want to explore. In the States, you would just go do that.
Right, I hop in my
it's
car
like
and I just
you
go.
got you're a whole grown woman. You got options. You got a car. You got your own money. Like, it's not an issue.
Right.
Here, it's different because A, we're in a foreign country. B, you're not a citizen here. So as an expat, you have certain right, and we weren't even permanent residents at the
that
time.
point, right.
So there's a lot of things you got to
And
be
I don't know the language.
and
So if I
you
get
don't
lost, I can't ask
so
nobody.
right, how do you ask, like, and then for me the comfort or the discomfort of my wife is just out exploring and I'm not with her. So now it's almost like I don't have a choice. And that by itself was pissing me off because we don't.
I was making him go.
In my mind, I
Right.
felt dragged. I felt like if I don't go and something happens, I could never live with myself. But then if I do go, I'm tired, I'm hurting physically. I don't want. I want to just kind of do whatever. And I felt like I had no choices. So it's one thing to plan, it's one thing to get buy-in, it's one thing to get agreement. It's another thing, and this is where, and Mike helped us out, our realtor, brokers, now great friend and family as far as we're concerned. Mike said there's levels to this.
Yes.
And he said there's a level when you're planning and you're dreaming. Then there's a level when you come to explore and to figure out if this is for you. Then there's another level that you go to when you actually get here. And then there's another level once the newness wears off that we ain't on vacation no more. We are here.
Right.
And that was the level that we had gotten to where now the things, it settles in. I ain't got nowhere to go. Like,
right.
I can't run and hide. I can't run and disappear. I can't. And so for me, it makes you have to, I had to face, why was I upset? Why was I chippy? Why was I, and you know what it really boiled down to, y'all? I was lonely. I was lonely for the life I left. And I didn't understand that then, and I'm not going to cry. But that was real.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I didn't know how to articulate that. Fellas, let me say this so that y'all are clear. I think that oftentimes, as men, we have had to put on the face that we've got it all together and that we're in control and that we're not afraid, when the opposite is absolutely the truth. And somehow along our way, we think that it's poor leadership to show feelings or to show emotion or to show. And one of the things I realized I was robbing this one of was understanding my heart so that she could support it. And I didn't plan to go here, but I need you to understand, when you move abroad or when you decide to do a new thing, for some of you guys, you're entering into retirement. You're thinking about your retirement years. You're thinking about downsizing, maybe selling the home and moving to a more manageable space. Here's a challenge. You've got to look to what does it take to support the other along in that process. And if you're not vulnerable enough with what it is that you're feeling, even if you don't have the words for it, that's not going to go well. That's not going to age well. And the reason why is because she's now feeling ostracized. It's like we've moved here because her mental health sort of dictated the pace. But now she's feeling guilty because I don't seem happy.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with her. I just can't articulate that I'm lonely for my freedom. My freedom to be able to go and hang out and do the things. I had a whole regiment that I had going every single day that was all of a sudden interrupted because of a move. And even though the move wasn't, quote, sudden, it was drastic in the sense that you're going to a different country.
Right. And just hearing you say that, and I just had an epiphany, and I'm going to switch gears for a second. I just had a realization, and I'm going to speak to my daughter for a moment, and y'all can just join in on the conversation. I just realized I understand now why when we moved to Atlanta, why that was so upsetting. Because we disrupted your norm, your routine. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, so when our daughter was a freshman in college, going into her sophomore year of college, we moved from Maryland to Atlanta for a church plant, and we sold our home. She felt abandoned. She felt like, she didn't have a home anymore. And I'm just getting it now.
Wow.
The reason it wasn't because our thing was like, well, you can always come. You can come, you can come stay with us when you get break. You can come, you'll just fly to Atlanta. You'll come stay with us. But I realized when you disrupt your routine.
Yes, ma'am.
there's a mourning process that takes
Yes,
place.
ma'am.
When you've been accustomed to living a certain way, when you're accustomed to these certain things being in place, and I think that's what you were going through.
Yeah.
As much as you were in total agreement us moving here.
Oh,
I did
absolutely.
not drag him here
No,
at all.
absolutely.
We had talked about
I
it
was
for
hyped.
years. He was excited about coming here, but once he got here, it was that absence of familiarity
That part.
that caused him to long for that. Just like I said, for me, it was missing the grandkids. It wasn't so much the tangible things.
Mm-hmm.
It was just I could go see my mom. My mom, I would see her 3-4 times a week. I would go by. You know,
Right.
it was the things like that, just the ability to not be able to do those things. And so now I was able to do that. I call, I FaceTime them, and so I'm able to still get some interaction. It's not the same as being there, but I was able to kind of fill that void to a degree. For him, his whole routine got switched up because you had a daily routine that you were married to in a lot of ways. That was because Glenn had been home, working from home some sense of the whole time since we've been married, for the most part.
To a large degree.
To a large degree. He didn't work in he left the corporate environment, so he was not in a normal traditional.
We got married in 99.
Right, he wasn't in a normal traditional work environment. So from working at the church and he worked from home a lot of time during that. And then, you know, he always had his own little daily routine. Not little, I don't mean that derogatory, but he had his own routine. But that's how he moved. His days were how they were.
Structured in a lot of ways.
And when we moved here, it's like, what am I supposed to do?
That's funny. Because I literally felt like,
what am I supposed to do?
Like, okay, so what am I doing today?
And I'm Speedy Gonzalez. Let's just go here.
And let's do this. And I'm like, bruh, pump your brakes, man. And for me, it was funny because if you know me personally, my temperament is to go, 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 go. But it's also within the construct that I've created. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So I'm not a random person in that sense. Like, I'm highly purposeful. I'm like all gas, no brakes. You get what I'm saying? Inside of my routine. But you disrupt that routine, now I'm feeling like I'm all brakes and I'm afraid to put my foot on the gas, if that makes any sense, because I don't know where I'm at. That is really good. I hadn't thought of it like that.
Right. And so then on top of that, so he's going through what he's going through. Then I get adventurous. I'm going to go out and go walking. I'm going to go out by myself.
She decides to walk to the grocery store, which is fine.
It's around the corner. It's 5 minutes
from here. But what ain't fine
is when you trip on some invisible steps that you don't see and fracture both your ankles. Well, fracture one ankle and get
severely high sprain the second one.
And you're out by yourself.
In a foreign country. Don't speak the language.
Don't know how to ask for help. I don't even know
by
how to
yourself.
Call 911. Don't know nothing.
None of that.
He is out. By this time, he's met some friends. He's out watching a game. My pride, when I call him and tell him, I'm like, oh, I'm okay. Just want to let you know I fell. But number one, my adrenaline kicked in, so I'm not really feeling the pain.
That's the Marine in her,
because
too. Jesus.
The shock and the adrenaline, once I fell, you know, this gentleman helped me get up. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can stand, I'm good. My adrenaline is flowing. My next response is, I can't call him and tell him I'm hurt. So I'm going to keep it moving. So I call him, I tell him I'm okay. I finish walking to the store, which is probably another 2 or 3 blocks. Get to the store, go to the grocery store, walk through the grocery store with the cart.
Shop, buy food.
Get all the stuff. So by the time I get to the register, I'm feeling this little womp in my ankle, like,
something ain't
I must have a bad sprain.
Right.
I must have sprained my ankle.
Right.
That's what I'm telling myself. So I decided I'm not going to walk back home. So I Uber home. Get in the Uber, get back here to the building. When I go to get up out that Uber to go put weight on that foot,
that's when the reality sets in. This ain't right.
Something ain't right.
So by the time I hear back from her, she has gone up, she has unloaded the groceries, she has put them up, she has taken a shower, she has gotten in the bed, and somehow she has wrapped her ankles in an ace bandage, and she's now calling me saying, I think something's wrong. So I'm rushing. I'm out hanging out. It was the first game of the week, I believe, NFL football. I was out at a sports bar watching the game, hanging out with some guys that I've met since being here. And I get this call. So I come rushing back to the house, obviously, and her ankles are as big as my fist, y'all, both of them. And I'm like, oh my God. So the good news is, and this is why I'm telling you that it's important for you to build a community as soon as you get abroad. I was able to tap into a community of people who could help me navigate the next steps. By the next morning, we called our guy, our friend Mike, and he set us up with an appointment to see an orthopedic surgeon the next day. So she don't go to the emergency room, she goes straight to the surgeon. He does the x-rays and the whole bit, and that's a whole nother story. It was such an incredible experience. Dr. Renee is phenomenal.
Yes.
And he was able to examine and tell her what needs to be done. So long story short, she winds up getting surgery. We were due to come back to the U.S. a week later for a conference, a business conference that we were hosting, and she was able to get her ankle repaired surgically, obviously, in the U.S.
Right. And so I talked about, somewhat that was my pride in my not telling him, but also in the back of my mind, if I have to be honest, I was calculating how I was going to tell him because I didn't want to give the sky is falling scenario because I really wanted to be here because I know people have left here for less. People will move abroad.
Did you think I would want to go back?
I didn't know. I didn't know if you'd be like, look, we going back.
I never thought of that till just now.
Right. And so people have come here, had less things, they run into a couple little hiccups.
Right. And they done. They're like, we're gone.
And so the thing that I learned from that was that I have a lot of, I'm looking for tenacity.
Yeah.
Resilience.
Yeah.
I think that being here for both of us has helped us to become more resilient because things don't always go the way we expect them to go. And that's one thing, too. When you move to a foreign country or move anywhere, even from state to state,
you have to readjust your expectations.
You have to adjust your expectations because I'm from Washington, D.C., and D.C. things flow a certain way.
Yep.
It just does. The federal government is there. Things are very buttoned up. Things operate a certain way. Even when we moved to Atlanta, I had to adjust my expectations because they don't move like they do in D.C.
Nope.
But there are certain things that aren't as important.
And that's the thing that I think that is true of every place you go to other than the place you're at. The culture changes.
The culture changes. So then coming here to a foreign country, if I come here with the same mindset as a person growing up in a major metropolitan city in the United States, it's culture shock here.
It is.
In a lot of ways because now there is, this is a major metropolitan area. We live in Panama City. It has all of the trappings of a city. There are certain things that we as Americans in particular are accustomed to that it don't operate like here. Like here, they move much slower.
Yeah, it's much slower. And again, that's the reason why coming here was the option. So you say in your mind, I want to move to a space or a place where life for me can start to slow down. Athletes talk about this all the time, particularly at certain levels of professional athletics, where they say the game slows down. It's not that the game actually slows down, your perspective on it changes. Your growth causes your outlook to see things differently. And I think that coming here, it gives you the opportunity to do that. But what we're trying to share with you guys is expect that and embrace that.
So the last thing we want to talk about is how our shared responsibilities have changed over the years. So just to give you guys a be fully transparent, before us moving here, we have been empty nesters for a while.
Yep.
Both our kids are grown, out of the home, been out of the home for years. And so it was just the two of us in the home. But I realized when we were in the States, because we both worked, I worked out of the home prior to the pandemic. And even during the pandemic, I was in the home, but because I was dealing with health issues, things during that time, it was very different. And Glenn was working every day, pretty much. Our business was at its peak during that time. It was a very high season for our business, so he was working all the time. When we moved here, before we moved here, we made the decision we were going to scale back our business. Scale back so we would have free time. That's part of why we moved here. We're not retired. but we wanted to have more free time, so we scaled back our schedule, our work schedule. And so the thing that I realized, and I don't know if I've shared this with you, it became an irritant to me because I felt like I was doing everything when it came to household chores and things like that, which I had been doing a lot of that when we were in the States anyway, just because that's me. That's just, I'm the cleaner. I do that.
God knows.
But I think I realize now that it became an irritant for me here. When you were working all the time, it didn't bother me because you were doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But now there are days we're just sitting around not doing anything,
Mm-hmm.
just chilling, and I'm like,
can you help me?
Can you do
Can
something?
you do something?
Right. But it's because...
And I'm over here fiddling with my drone, trying to download some footage that don't matter.
Right. It's just the two of us. I mean, it ain't a lot to do, but it's just little things. I am a recovering OCD person. I like everything in its place. Everything has to be in its place.
Listen.
Everything. And so that's
she ain't all the way healed.
Right.
Yeah.
And for a number of months, that was a really a stressful point for us because initially I didn't know how to say it without coming off
as nagging
and nasty, but we've been able to have the conversation, and I've been able to express to you, look, in this season, I feel like I don't want to have to ask.
Right.
Because we ain't doing nothing.
Now let me give you guys some context just a little bit. So in the 25 years that we've been married, I've never been the person that jumps in and helps to clean and pick up and do all the things. I don't see it as much of an irritant. I'm okay with stuff being out of place. I'm not a slob. I don't like nasty houses in terms of stinky this, that, and the third. But I can promise you...
It can be cluttered and you'd be fine.
Clutter is okay with me. I'm good with clutter. I'm good with organized chaos. Y'all feel me?
I don't.
You know, and for Cherie, we've been able to navigate that over the years through certain ways. Obviously, when the kids were younger, you know, obviously they all had jobs and that sort of stuff. So it was not, and you're leaving the house, and so therefore, you know, you're not sitting around in it all the time. Here's what I learned since coming here, and we talk about just how our dynamics have changed. I've recognized that I have time, and in me having time, I need to learn how to pay attention. See, before when I lived in the U.S., I didn't have the time to pay attention. And so for me, because I don't naturally see clutter like she sees it, I'm not focused on that. So I can walk over the same pile of clothes, clean clothes that haven't been folded up yet, and literally pick out what I'm going to wear. I know, look, don't judge me, because I know y'all. Look, I know there are folks in this audience that are built the same way. And for you, it's not an issue. And I go all the way back to even before we met. It's like, bruh, like, I was this way when we met and you married me. So at this point, did you think that that would just change? And don't get me wrong, I'm not justifying not changing. Here's what I had to realize, that if I was going to create peace in my home, if I was going to create an environment where peace could live, I had to make an adjustment. Mm-hmm. Now, the good news is that, yes, we have a housekeeper. We love Nina. And she comes through, and trust me, when I say she cleans things from the rooter to it's a situation, y'all. The house looks like a brand new house every week. Mm-hmm. But can I maintain that? And the truth is that now I have the space and time. Now I need to develop the habit of doing it. So I wasn't in the habit of doing that before because I didn't have to. Now I need to develop the habit. And I'll be honest, I think that I've come a long way in the last year. Would you agree?
Yes.
And so I'm not saying that it can't happen. What I am saying is that you have to pay attention to your dynamics. And as they change, you got to become adaptable, because this situation can get real weighty and real heavy. And all of a sudden, paradise can look like hell to you. And I'm going to say, listen, just because we wake up to sunrises and the sun sets off our balcony, the same place every day. Mm-hmm. Here's what I know. That can become trite, mundane, and quite frankly, irritating if your living environment is not conducive to showing up like that.
Right. And so to kind of wrap this up, I think the biggest thing for me this last year has been our individual growth.
Yeah.
our growth in being able to be more in tune with one another, to what each other needs, what each other wants, being able to truly come together and make decisions together, every step of the way. And really, it's taken our ability to consider each other
to another
whole,
level,
another
for
level,
sure. For sure.
Because we don't have the other distraction. I like how you said, we're just sitting around now. So we have the time to pay attention to things we didn't have the time to pay attention to before. Because we had the distractions of work. We had the distractions of everything else. Now it's just us.
Yeah.
So either we can live in the house and ignore each other.
Right.
Or we can grow closer together, and we've chosen to grow closer together.
Yeah.
I think our relationship has strengthened. I definitely think that our friendship has grown.
For sure.
I really like you.
I got something. No, it's funny, babe. I want to kind of transition to some future plans and things that we're working on. But we've always been friends.
Yes.
For 25 years, we've been friends.
Yes.
But I feel like our friendship has gone to another level. And now we're creating communities, live, real people on the ground here, of people who want to grow in their relationships.
Right. So we're starting to develop our inner circle here. We have a group of friends that we get together once a month. We do a game night. So, we're getting out, we're meeting people, we're developing our tribe here. And some things that we're looking to do in the future is, and some of you guys have heard us talk about this, we want to start having couples, inviting people here to Panama.
Right.
We want to create experiences for you to be able to get an opportunity to taste and see all that there is here in Panama. So many people are unaware of what Panama is.
Yeah.
Most people only know about the Panama Canal. There's so much here to do. There's so many different areas in the country for different experiences. If you want a beach experience, if you want a tropical experience, we went and visited Gamboa Rainforest Reserve yesterday, which is in the middle of a rainforest. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
There are several resorts and things here right around the city, but if you want to go further out in the interior. But the thing that we realize is that, and we all know this as couples, that you need to take time to get away. But I think there's something special when you get away to someplace serene. When you can get away to someplace that is a slower pace, a change in environment. And one thing that we have practiced over the course of our 25 years of marriage is always having a new experience. Experiences for people to come here, not just for couples, for singles, if you want to come for a girlfriend's trip, a guy's trip.
Yeah.
We're going to be curating experiences for you guys to be able to come visit and come and see what Panama is about and get to experience some of this. Not for you guys to relocate here, because we're not relocation specialists. I'm not trying to encourage people to move here. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
And we got people that we can refer you to.
Right, I can refer you to somebody to help you along
dots.
with that. But if you just want to come and visit and come and explore and just get a taste of this, one thing that we're working on, Christmas in Panama.
Listen.
Curating a trip, and this can be for families. If you want to bring your kids, because I know a lot of people travel for Christmas. So stay tuned for details on that. We're working on that this week. We just closed out our Reignite experience for couples in February 2025, but we're going to be creating something now for families that want to come and experience Christmas. They do Christmas totally different here.
Yes.
It's a whole thing.
So let's start there really quickly before we get out of here, y'all. You travel during the Christmas season on a regular basis. Put me in the chat. You're the person that every year you're looking to give your family experiences and not gifts. Put me in the chat. You're the kind of couple that every year you can check off the box on where you've traveled with your family because you decide to take advantage of a time where it might be cold for you guys, but y'all are traveling somewhere tropical. Put me in the chat. Let me tell you why I'm asking this. Because Panama City, Panama the country, does Christmas at a completely different level. I want to ask you guys those questions because that's a great time. It's the beginning of dry season. It is right, that whole season, the kids are out of school. Believe it or not, kids get out of school in mid-December. That's their summer break. They don't go back to the beginning of March.
Right.
And that's their summer vacation. So it's all about families all throughout dry season. So the point I'm making is that if that's you, I want you to let us know, because as we curate these taste and see experiences, our goal really is to expose Panama in ways that you've never seen it.
We always say the people are just as warm as the weather, and so you're definitely going to feel welcome. And we just want you guys to come and experience and see what it is that we've learned here. And we're continuing to discover new things
every single day, y'all.
We haven't
There's
seen
so
the
many
whole
things
country.
we have not done, and we're going to be doing that over the next year, traveling up to Bocas del Toros, traveling up to Boquete, traveling up to places where Panama is famous for chocolate,
And
it's
coffee.
famous for coffee. Well, we want to go to the farms where they grow this stuff and go through the processes. Some of the most beautiful golf courses in the world are here. And so I want to do some tours and some different things that involve that kind of spa days and stuff like that. There are places like El Valle where you can go and sit in natural springs and get that whole experience. So we want to, waterfalls, all the things, we want to do that. And many guys have seen me with some of my drone footage of shooting certain shots that are just unique to Panama. The wildlife here is unique. I just want to let you guys know that that's where we're going. We're still building the MAPS Relationship Academy. For those of you guys who are still working on your coupled and parenting relationships, we got you. Check out the descriptions below if you need some help, you need to build with community. But we're looking to do some local things on the ground here as well when it comes to building relationships.
All right. And once again, we want to thank you guys for viewing. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications. And we will see you again next week.
Listen, on behind closed doors, at the end of the day, here's what I know to be true. You cannot get to any place of significance
by yourself.
because we all need some help. Y'all be good, and we'll talk to you soon.